Don't call me crazy quite yet. I'm going to convince you what it takes for the Aggies to make the college football playoff.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Ladies and gentlemen, today's the day. It is Wednesday. And I'm going to convince you what it would take, how Texas A&M could make the college football playoff. Texas fans, hey, welcome. Anybody else that's here for a joke? Hear me out. Just hear me out. That's all I ask. So, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that it would really take. I bet it would take 5 or 7 for you to have a chance of these things clicking. And a lot of them are question marks around this team. But the first thing, and I want to reiterate this point for folks who are here that might not listen to the show every day, might not be a Texas A&M fan. The schedule for Texas A&M is incredibly manageable compared to other teams. You look at Texas A&M's schedule. They play all of their super daunting games, Texas, LSU, Notre Dame, Missouri, all are at home, all at Kyle Field. You got some tough road games. Got to go to Auburn, got to go to Florida. But comparative, your most difficult games are in front of your home crowd. So the point here is this. You have to take care of business on the road, go 2-2 in those tough road games. So I believe, before we get into the, player-wise, what it's going to take, I think 10-2 can get you in the playoff with the extended playoff. Definitely 10-2. I think there's a chance, an outside chance, that a 9-3 SEC team could be the 11th or 12th seed. We'll have to see it play out. But I would say there's a slim chance. But 10-2 gets you in. And to go 10-2, all it would take. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the SEC. Every team, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida. Do I think that Texas A&M should beat those teams? Of course. Do I think Texas A&M's has a better roster? Sure. But these are SEC teams with good head coaches, with good players. None of these games are, well, go ahead and write it down. It's a win. Not a single one of them, especially Florida and Auburn. But if you take care of business in those games, take care of business, win the games you should. In my opinion, you should. And you go 2-2 in those home games, you make the college football playoff. Is that, if I had to put a percentage chance on it, probably say 5%. I don't actually, ironically, we're getting ready to talk about the FPI metrics from ESPN in segment 2. Their chances are a lot higher than I have them. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. Yeah, I think a fair number is 5-10% a chance. I'm not sitting here saying lock it in, Aggies are going to the playoff. I'm not saying that. But I want to make the case for how they would do it. So I think it would take 10-2. It would take winning your road games and going 2-2 in those games against Notre Dame, Texas, LSU, and Missouri. That's what it would take. So that's what it would take there. And I have a real feeling Texas A&M is going to go 2-2 in those home games. I think what it's going to come down to is, can you beat Florida and Auburn on the road? I have a feeling that they're gonna win some of these games at home. I really do. But it will take winning some of those tough road games. So now let's talk about personnel-wise, player-wise, coaching-wise, what it will take for the Aggies to make the college football playoff. So first, Conner Weigman has to have an elite season, a really good season, a season where you go, is Conner Weigman in the Heisman race? A really good season. And if you listen to the show every day, you know that I think that's very realistic. I am a huge believer in Conner Weigman. I think he's a really good football player. As a freshman, we saw him a little bit, didn't get to see him a ton. Gets hurt last year. If he stays on the field, stays healthy, I think he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. And solid quarterback play leads to wins. Just reality of the game we all love. You got to have good quarterback play. And I believe the Aggies have that in Conner Weigman. So I think you need elite play out of Conner Weigman for this team to have a chance to make the playoff, the extended 12-team playoff. The next thing I have is I think you got to have the best defensive line in the SEC and probably a top 3 to 5 defensive line in college football. You know, we've talked about a strength of this team is going to be the pass rush. I think you're going to see with Nick Scorton some of the pass rush from the interior, a guy like Cassius Howell coming off the edge. You know, I think you're going to have one of the most dominant pass rushes in college football and in the SEC. Of course, you lead the SEC in sacks last season, right ahead of Tennessee. And I don't know what's stopping you from doing it again, especially bringing in a double-digit sack guy from the Big Ten. I mean, you know, it's not crazy to say I think this pass rush is going to be really good like it was last year, and I think you're going to need that. You're going to need the quarterback, opposing quarterbacks, to not have any time in the pocket. So I think it's going to take a really good pass rush. But I don't think – so the two things that I've listed so far, I don't think are outside of the realm of possibility. The next thing I have here is the secondary has got to be better than it was last year. Last year, you had an elite defensive line, an elite front seven. But if those players weren't able to get home, you saw touchdowns down the field because of the poor secondary play. Got to clean it up. I think that you're going to have a really good defensive line, as I just got done talking about, a really good front seven that's going to get after the quarterback, but you still have to be able to cover for plays where you're not going to get pressure on every play. You got to be able to cover downfield. So that's going to be really important as the secondary. And I'm not saying elite. I'm not saying one of the best in the game. I'm not saying one of the best in college football. I'm saying good enough, just passable. I think it's just got to be better than, significantly better than it was last year, but the bar is very low from what it was last year. It needs to be better. The next thing I have here, and this to me is number one, the offensive line has to be solid. Did I say good? Did I say elite? Did I say top 5 in the SEC? I did not. I said solid. This unit just needs to be okay. Solid. Fine. Doesn't need to be elite. It'd be great if it was elite, of course. So, hey, if the secondary is elite, if this offensive line is elite, it'd be awesome. We would, of course, take that. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility for this unit to be really good. But I think there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of players coming in and coming out, and we don't know what this room as a whole is going to look like. So for the most part, I think that I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you that the offensive line just needs to be passable. And I think if it's just passable, this offense can be really good. I then have Colin Klein needs to be an elite play caller. I did use the word elite for him because I think he has it in him. He needs to be a good decision maker. He needs to know when to pull the trigger on different smart decisions. When do I run? When do I pass? When do I run a trick play? When do I put in this player to run some kind of gadget play? You've got to know the right times to do these things. And I believe Colin Klein's going to be one of the better play callers in college football this year. But this is his opportunity to really prove that on the big stage. And I think that if you have an elite play caller with a solid quarterback, some good receivers, really good running backs, really good tight ends, and a hopefully serviceable offensive line, this can be a really solid offense. And then lastly, the receivers, you need a receiver to step up, but you need this room as a whole to be good. We've talked about you've got a lot of receivers that could take that step to being the guy. But we can sit here and say that all we want. Someone's got to do it. Whether it's Jade Walker, Noah Thomas, Moose Muhammad, someone's got to take that step. Whoever it is, great. Don't care who it is, needed to be one of those guys. You can't have 3 wide receiver twos. You need to have somebody be that guy. So someone's got to step up. But, I mean, here's the deal. Are all of those things going to happen? Highly unlikely. Could 5 of them happen? Sure. If you told me Conner Weigman's elite, the defensive line is one of the best in college football. The secondary is better than it was a year ago. The offensive line is solid, and Coach Klein is one of the best play callers in college football. But the receivers, they don't take that step we thought. That team can still sneak into the playoff. You don't need it all. You need most of it. Now, if all of these things click, yeah, I think Texas A&M can win 10 football games and make the playoff. If 4 or 5 of them click, I think you have an outside chance. Outside chance. Why I said 10%, 5%, not a high percent chance. But if you want to explain to you how Texas A&M would make the 12-team playoff, that is what they would have to do to make the 12-team playoff. Let me know in the YouTube comments anything else that you think this team needs to have happen to make the playoff, and give me a percent chance. Come on, who's feeling crazy on a Wednesday? Anybody feeling crazy? Let me know. What's the percentage chance the Aggies make the college football playoff? Let me know that in the YouTube comments. ESPN's FPI metrics are out, and they're really interesting. They think the Aggies have a better chance to make the playoff than I do. We will have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I absolutely love Game Time. Why am I here? You everydayers might ask. Why? What is this studio? Well, at my parents, because my dad and I are going to a concert tomorrow. It's my dad's. Oh man, I guess is this gonna be Father's Day or his birthday? It's one of those. His birthday's coming up here in a few weeks. So it's like, well, what do we choose here? But we're gonna go see the Pixies. Any Pixies fans out there? Shout out. My dad loves them. I got into them. We used to listen to them when I go to baseball tournaments and stuff. So we're gonna go see them this evening. And where did I get those tickets? Game Time. Where do I get tickets to everything and anything? Game Time. Going to a baseball game on Saturday with some of my buddies. Where do they get the tickets? Game Time. Only place I will ever buy a ticket to anything. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA or any kind of tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So, the FPI numbers from ESPN are out. I always love these. I find these super interesting every year. They change every week. It gives you a whole bunch of different metrics, and we're going to run through them. I'll give you my thoughts on them, some takeaways, some different stuff here. So let's run right through it. So first of all, Texas A&M was 14th in the FPI rankings, which is significant. I mean, here's the deal. Anyone here ever seen Trouble with the Curve? Where there's the people who look at the numbers, the one dude, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, his character, the guy in this movie, and he, well, the computer says this guy can hit. And then he goes and he listens and he says this guy can't hit the curveball, right? That, you could make the argument that this is that. This isn't real. You got to really judge football, but it's still a metric that we're going to use. We're going to discuss. So those that are old school, a little bit like me, I'm kind of half and half with this stuff. I get it, but still, I mean, if I'm a fan of a team, every metric that is positive for my team, I'll take it. So the Aggies are 14th in the FPI rankings. The projected record, 7.6, 4.5. So that's the projected record. Now, hear me out. You got to remember, for example, Kansas was ranked 15th in the FPI rankings, and their win total was much higher. And I think that reason being the Aggies are in the SEC. It's the best conference in college football. There's There's a reason why their projected record isn't as good as some teams around them, and that's the reality here. So that's the projected record. Once again, the Aggies are ranked 14th. Their percent chance of going undefeated, of winning out, is 0.4. As I always say. So you're saying there's a chance. Just there's a chance. 6+ wins. So bowl eligibility, the Aggies have an 84.6% chance. I would I think you can put that at 99.9, but whatever. I don't make the metrics. So that is the percent chance to get to 6 wins and make an appearance in a bowl game in the first season under head coach Mike Elko. So to win the SEC, 3.2% chance. I'll be honest with you, and it's funny. I'm getting ready to tell you the playoff percentage, and it's much higher than this, and it makes sense. You're going to see a bunch of SEC teams in the playoff. That's just the reality. It's going to be much easier to make the playoff than it is to win the best conference in college football. That's just the reality here. It's how good the SEC is. It's a real nod to the SEC. So the Aggies' percent chance, and this is going to irk some people, I'm just telling you now, to make the playoff is 21%. The Aggies have a 21% chance to make the college football playoff. That's much higher than I put it. Remember, it is the extended 12-team playoff. This is no longer 4 teams. What are my thoughts here? Do I think this is super realistic? No, I think that number's too high. As I said, I think 10-5 is more of a fair number. But as I've said time and time again, schedule's manageable. I think this roster's better than many folks are giving it credit to be. So that's kind of my take on, I think that percentage is high, but I'm not going to like yell at anybody for it. I get it. And I think it's mostly schedule based. So to make the national championship game, the Aggies have a 2.5% chance. I'll say it one more time. And I'm going to say it one more time in a minute after this. So you're saying there's a chance. And to win it all, 1% chance. So you're saying there's a chance. That's the last time I'll say it, probably for a week. Before we talk about where some Texas A&M opponents are listed on this and some takeaways, I just want to share the reason I think this stuff is relevant. I mean, these metrics use a lot of different things. Let's see if I can get a definition. Let's type in ESPN FPI explained. Okay. So the Football Power Index is a predictive rating system developed by ESPN that measures team strength and uses it to forecast game and season results in football. Each team's FPI rating is composed of predictive offensive, defensive, and special teams values as measured by a function of expected points added, EPA. That rating is the basis for FPI's game level and season level projections. So there you go. If that made sense to you, good for you. I'm just kidding. Being that you see what I'm saying. I mean, it's complex. But I'm a guy, I'll sit here and tell you, I like when metrics are in your favor. I mean, I'd rather them be in your favor than not in your favor. And I like it when it's like this, like Texas A&M is probably going to be ranked in the very bottom of the AP poll before the season or not at all. But the metrics like them. I love that. That means that maybe there's not going to be a number in front of your name on the kickoff against Notre Dame, but the metrics like you. And I think that's a big deal. I really do. So Texas A&M opponents that are ranked above them, Texas is number 3 in these FPI rankings. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame are ranked 7th in these rankings. Missouri is ranked 10th, and LSU is right ahead of the Aggies, directly ahead at 13th. So, interestingly enough, Florida and Auburn are behind Texas A&M. I didn't write down what number they were. They were ahead of 20. They're not far behind Texas A&M. And the reason I bring that up is something I've said time and time again. This is those 2 football games on the road in tough environments will not be cakewalks. Those are good teams in tough places to play. You are not going to walk in there and easily beat those football teams. Even though we've seen better Auburn and Florida teams over the years, it's still a tough place to play. I don't care how good, bad, awful, or awesome they are. Those are tough places to play, and winning there should always be something you're happy with, even no matter what. So those are tough games to play, as I've said time and time again, but that continues to be the reality. So those are the FPI metrics. We finally see them. I like where the Aggies are. I feel good about this. I think this is going to be a good football team, and I like seeing that ESPN's metrics agree with me on that. All right, it is time to talk a little bit of baseball. I'm going to run through some keys to winning the Super Regional against the Oregon Ducks. We'll run through that, my thoughts, what you got to do to win it, coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aggies are 2 wins away from making the trip to Omaha, Nebraska for another College World Series appearance. 2 wins away, 2 games. I was really proud and happy with how this team played in the regional. I mean, putting Texas in that regional, while Texas A&M is significantly better in every facet of the game, whenever a rival is in something like that, you never like it. You know what I mean? You never like it because there's just emotion leads to crazy things happening. They did a great job winning that regional. 3-0, in and out, boom. So you'll take that. But for me, keys to winning this Super Regional. I think the first, in some of these are going to be cliche baseball sayings. Once again, baseball is my thing. For those of you that are new here, I played in college. Baseball is my thing. These things I'm telling you, they really are key when it comes to winning a Super Regional. And the first is winning game 1. It sounds silly, sounds boring, it sounds obvious. It is so hard emotionally if you lose game 1 to win a series, whether it's in college, in the MLB, whatever it is. Winning game 1 mentally is massive. You just feel like, okay, I got 2 games left. I got to win one of them. It's a good thing. And now when you get to that spot, you'd say, hey, let's just win now, of course. But you've got 2 opportunities to win 1 game if you win the first game. Winning the first game, I don't have the percentages. I wish I did. I wish I did MLB in college. But more times than not, you're going to win the series if you win game 1. Just reality. You got to go 1-1 instead of 2-0 to win the series after that. So win game 1. Come out hot. The next thing I have here is Montgomery needs to stay hot. He was cold. He was not hitting the ball well. And this is a dude who I've seen top 10, top 5 in some mock drafts. He cooled off the back half of SEC play. And heading into the regional, I said, Montgomery, please, please, please get going at the dish. And he got going at the dish. Need him to stay hot. Confidence matters in every sport. Matters if you're shooting the 3 ball on the basketball court. It matters if you are running routes on football field. It matters if you are on the mound at the plate. Confidence matters in every way of life. And I think that Monty getting some confidence at the right time could be huge for this team. So that is my second thing. My third thing is punch them in the mouth early. Get out to an early lead. You want to get out to an early lead. You want to punch them in the mouth early, and you want to build. You don't want to be coming from behind. I'd rather come from behind at home than on the road, but still, punch them in the mouth, get a lead, sustain the lead. You have the type of pitching staff that pitches really well with a lead. Understand that, get a lead, keep the lead. There are strikes. I mean, once again, y'all know I was a pitcher. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to say that all day, every day. Throw the ball over the plate. I'm not saying don't hit corners, but I'm saying throw strikes, make your defense, make them beat you with big swings. Your defense is out there. You have a solid defense. Let them make plays. I've then got, you need your stars to play well. You need Prager to shove. You need Laviolette and Monty to continue to play well. You have got to see your stars shine in these big moments. Don't boot the ball. You've had a solid defense all year long. You need to continue to do that. Take care of the baseball, good throws, field the ball, see it in the glove before you know what I mean? Make the right decision. Know where the play is before you make it, stuff like that. Big atmosphere. And this is for the 12th man, not the team. Hey, the atmosphere last weekend was incredible. Let's make it even better this weekend. This team could use it. This team could really use it. It just helps. It just helps if you are fans are there, fans are loud, and they're going to be. I'm not saying it's concerned, but bring the energy. This team can use it. And the last thing I'll say, and tomorrow I'll break down Oregon. I'm going to run through them as a team. I'm going to run metrics, players to watch. We'll do all that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Aggies. But the last thing I want to say is this: you are the better baseball team playing at home. Show up, play your game, win this. Go to Omaha, Nebraska for the College World Series. You are 2 wins away. You are almost there. That is all you have got to do. We'll break down this series on the upcoming Super Regional more to when it comes. What is Oregon? What do they got? Who do they got? We'll break that down on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Aggies. That is going to do it for today's episode. Really appreciate y'all being here every single day. Hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow.